and welcome back to another new lesson of the Basic JavaScript for Beginners course. In today's video, we are going to see conditional statements. So let's get into it. First thing first, let's talk about what are conditional statements. Conditional statements in programming are a sort of decision-making statements that help you in controlling the flow of your programs. In JavaScript, there are two types of conditional statements. There is the if statements and the switch statements. Now let's jump into the code editor and see them in practice. Okay, first let's start by looking at the most basic form of if statement in JavaScript. So to write an if statement in JavaScript, all you have to do is use the if keyword, then followed by your condition between two parentheses, then open two curly brackets where you put in between them your piece of code that you want to run whenever this condition is met. So basically, in plain English, what you want to say by using an if statement is check whether this specific condition is met. If a specific condition is met, we have to run the code that is between the curly brackets. If not, we have to skip this piece of code and continue executing the following code. One more thing to add is you are going to recall all what you have learned in the previous lesson concerning the logical operators and the comparison operators, because this is what we are going to use in order to build our conditions. So first let's start by writing our first if statement. So let's say that we are given a score of 6, and let's say that we want to check if this person passed this test or not. So all we have to do is to check if the score is greater or equal to 5. So if the score is greater or equal to 5, we are going to print you have passed the test. Congrats. Now if we save and then refresh the page, so we are getting you have passed the test. So the condition here is met because the score is obviously 6, which is greater than 5. What if the score is 2? Then let's refresh. Nothing will happen. So this block of statement is skipped because the condition here is not met. And what we mean by the condition is met is that this comparison is resolving to true. So if the condition resolves to true or evaluates to true, then we have to execute this code or this piece of code. If not, we have to skip. We have then to skip to the following statements. And to prove that, let's console log. Here I am the rest of the code. Now if we save, then refresh the page again, as you can see we are getting I am the rest of the code. Now what if you want to handle also when this condition evaluates to false? So the second type of if statement is the if else statement. So all what we have to do is add in the block when the condition evaluates to false. Here all we have to do is, for example, write console log you were almost there, you can do better the next time. If we save this, then refresh the page, as you can see here we are getting you were almost there, And this is because this condition resolves to false, which means this piece of code is not going to be executed. Instead, this piece of code is going to be executed, and after that the rest of the code is going to run. Now the last type of if statement that we will see is the if-else statement. Let's assume that we want to check our condition based on multiple options, not only when it resolves to true and false. To illustrate this, let's have an example first. Let's remove this. Let's say that we have got score 1 and another variable which is score 2. Let's say that it equals to 7. And our conditions are as below. Conditions from our rules are as below. Let's say if score 1 is greater or equal to 5, so the student is going to pass, no matter how much the score 2 is. The second rule is if score 1 is lesser than 5 and score 2 is greater than or equal to 7. So here the student is going to pass too. Let's say that we have another rule which is if score 1 is equal to 0, or let's say that score 1 and score 2 both of them are zeros, both zeros. Now in this case the student is excluded, okay? And we have got the last, which is if none any of the above conditions or rules is met, then try the next time. Now if you want to write an if statement that can check those rules, all what we have to do is first check. The first condition is check if score 1 is greater or equal to 5. So then we have to console log pass. So else if we have to put now the following condition. When we say else here, we mean that score 1 now is lesser than 5. We are in this second condition. Now we have to check if score 2 is greater or equal to 7. So here we are sure that score 1 is lesser than 5. Let's check score 2 is greater than or equal to 7. In this case, the student is going to pass 2. Now if I put else if again, here because of the else, I know that score 1 is lesser than 5 and score 2 is lesser than 7. So here we are going to check if score 1 and score 2 both of them equal to 0. So all what we have to do is score 1 is equal, and we have to add the strict comparison, then use the logical and to check also score 2 if it is equal to 0. Then here we are going to console log excluded. Okay, the last check here, we know that score 1 and score 2 are not equal to 0, but they are lesser than 5 and 7. So in this case we are just going to put the else and console log try next time. Here we are having score 1 equal to 2 and score 2 is equal to 7, which means that we are going to pass because we are fulfilling this condition. So let's write pass case 2 and pass case 1 just to distinguish between the two cases. Now if we save then refresh the page, as you can see guys, we are having pass case 2. Now let's change this to 0 0. In this case the student is excluded. Now let's check if one of them is 1. In this case the student has another chance to try again. Now let's say that we have got score 1 equal to 5, which means that we are in the condition 1, so we expect to has pass for the case 1, and that's it. We are having pass at the case 1. So basically this is it for the if statement. Next, let's see about the switch statements. The switch statements are usually useful whenever we have got a single condition expression and that expression can resolve to multiple results. Now we want to perform certain actions depending on the result given by that expression. So to illustrate this better, let's have this example. Let's assume that we have got a variable color which have the red as value. To write our switch statement we have to use the keyword switch, then put the condition just after the condition that we want to test. In this case is the color, the value of color. Then in here we are going to test all the cases we need. So let's start by the first case, for example the case when the color resolved to yellow, for example. Let's say that we want to console log the color is set to yellow with capital letters. Okay, to finish this block all we need to do is to use the break instruction. The break instruction allows us to go out of the switch statements. Now let's assume that we have got another case, or we have got two other cases. Let's say that when it's red we are going to console log, and when it's, for example, green with, we are going to console log green in capital letters. Now there is a case which is the default case. If none of these cases is, we have its default, there is the default case when none of these cases is verified or can be verified. So we're going to perform the default, and the default color is unknown. Now let's save and refresh the page. As you can see, the color is set to red because we are having the red value attributed to the color variable. Let's change this to, for example, green. As you can see, we are having the result green. Let's say that the color is brown. As you can see, we don't have the case brown in our switch statement, so the default case is going to be performed. Let's refresh, and as you can see, we are having color is unknown. So basically, this is how we use the switch statement in JavaScript. This example might not be the most convenient example, but it was just to illustrate how to use the switch statement in JavaScript. One more last thing that I want to talk about is the conditional operator. If you have watched the previous lesson, I've mentioned this operator, but we didn't see it. I have intentionally let it for the lesson of today because it would make more sense. Now, the conditional operator is a shorthand for if-else statements. To illustrate this, let's have this example. For example, we have got a random number, and we are going to test this random number. If it is greater or equal to 10, then we are going to console log true, and if it is not, we are going to console log false. Now, if we see here in the console, we are getting the result false because the random number is equal to 3, which is lesser than 10. To write the same code above using the conditional operator, all we have to do is to put the expression, the condition expression that we want to test here, which is, then we use the interrogation mark. Then after that, we will put the what we have to do if this expression is going to resolve to true. So if this expression is going to evaluate to true, so what we have to do? In this case, we are going to console log true. Else, so we are going to use the colon just to say it has the same meaning as else. Then after that, we will put what we have to do if not. In this case, it's logging out or console log false. Now let's first comment this block of code. Let's save, then refresh the page and see we are getting false because 3 is obviously lesser than 10. If we change this to 11, for example, and run again, as we can see, we are getting true as a result. So basically, this is it for the conditional operator in JavaScript. Here we are at the end of the lesson. Hopefully, I hope that you have learned something new today. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video for more content like this one in the future. Thanks for watching and see you in the next lesson.